Hey friends, thanks for joining me today. Great to see y'all again. One quick announcement before we get into the study together. I want to invite you guys to be sure to join us on Sunday morning, either in person or online. We've got some important updates this Sunday. Instead of a traditional kind of time of teaching or our sermon, we're going to have a family meeting and really just talk about what are the next couple months going to look like for us as a church family. How are we going to engage with one another? How are we going to worship together? What's it going to look like as we figure out how to navigate life moving forward for the next couple months? And so, man, we love you guys. I believe God is not surprised at all that's happening in our midst right now. I believe He wants to act with purpose in this moment, and He's inviting us to participate with Him. And so it's vital that we spend time with the Lord. It's vital that we figure out ways how to continue to be connected as a church family. We need that personally. Being isolated is not healthy, and so we got to figure out ways personally to be connected, but also we have a lot to offer each other. We're called to bear one another's burdens and love each other well. And so we're going to talk about some of those things on Sunday. Pray that you'll be able to tune in or even join us in person. All right, well, I'm doing a July front porch midday Bible study video. And so come join me in the heat and let's have some fun getting into God's Word together. We're going to be looking at Psalm 141 together. There's a few verses in particular I want to dive into. But to kind of give you a heads up on where we're going together today, I want to talk about decision making. You know, we're facing huge decisions right now. Many of us are trying to figure out, what are we going to do with our kids this year? Am I doing virtual learning, sending them to school? Maybe you're just making decisions in general about how do I engage with work in my community? You know, just every day it feels like there's another big decision to make. And thank God He gives us some guidance and direction on how to do that. And so let's dive into this Psalm 141. There's kind of four main verses we're going to focus on together. So let's start with verse 1. This is a Psalm of David. O Lord, I call upon you. Hasten to me. Give ear to my voice when I call to you. Listen, David starts this psalm with a cry for help. God, I need you. I'm desperate for you. Hasten to me. Lord, I'm desperate before I go anywhere else or look in any other direction. I need you. And friends, when we're facing major life decisions, we've got to start there. We don't just have to start there. Prayer needs to be before, during, and after our decision making. It's essential that we spend time with God and seek His guidance on decision making. Listen, should I talk to others? Absolutely. We'll talk about that in a minute. Should I gather as much information as I can? Educate myself? Absolutely. But friends, we can have all the advice in the world from others. We can educate ourselves with as much information as possible. But the Creator of the universe loves us. He has purposes for our life, and He wants to give us direction on how to walk with Him in any season. And so, friends, let's not neglect that. And I even love that sense of desperation you hear in David's call. Lord, I'm desperate for you. I need you and your wisdom and your input. And so let's call out for help. The next thing he says, verse 3, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Friends, when we're facing big decisions, when we're trying to decide what we should be doing, let's be slow to speak. Let's not rush to declare, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going. There's wisdom in slowing down, listening to the voice of the Lord. Not rushing to just trust my first instinct, but being careful to just kind of quiet my mouth, take in some information, be thoughtful, and don't be too quick to speak. And then that really ties in with the next thing we're going to look at, which is verse 5. Let a righteous man strike me. It is a kindness. Let him rebuke me. It is oil for my head. Let my head not refuse it. You know, this echoes the sentiment of the proverb that says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. You know, none of us like being corrected. None of us like hearing the voice or the input of someone else that challenge us, that invites us to think of things in a new light, in a new way. But it's so good and healthy for us, especially when the source is someone who cares about us. They have our best interest at heart. It doesn't even mean they're always going to be right, but it's important that we're willing and open to receive input from other people, even input that might challenge us or correct us. And so in our willingness to seek the Lord and hear what He has to say, in our willingness to kind of not rush to judgment, not be quick to speak, we then open ourselves up to receiving faithful, loving insight from those who care about us. And it's important that we receive that. And then finally, as he moves towards the end of the psalm, we get to verse 8. And he says, "But my eyes are toward you, O God, my Lord. In you I seek refuge. Leave me not defenseless." And so David in this psalm, he's talking a lot about his enemies and their evil deeds, and he just kind of can feel a little overwhelmed and surrounded. But he ends where he began. You know, he started with a cry for help. He ends by saying, God, I have purposed to set my eyes toward you and let you be my refuge. Friends, there comes a point where we make a decision and we begin to move forward. And we're not always going to feel secure about the choice or decision that we've made. I'll tell you right now, as my wife and I have navigated different hard decisions in this season, I've often felt like there's no right answer, or at least not a perfect answer. But there is the conclusion we arrive at, and we need to land where David landed, which is, Lord, at the end of the day, whatever I decide, wherever I go, God, I'm looking to you, and I'm going to find comfort and refuge in you. And so I want to wrap up with 3 quick thoughts, just to kind of recap all of this, all right? Number 1, when we're making decisions, let's be prayerful. Before, during, and then after, let's commit our plans to the Lord and entrust ourselves in His care. Secondly, be open to the wrestling. Don't be afraid of conflict. There's healthy conflict that helps us arrive at good conclusions. Be willing to listen. Be willing to speak up. Listen, married couples, if you're making decisions together right now, don't neglect that period of the wrestling. For some of you, you might be quick to speak, and you just slow down and be quiet and really invite your spouse to speak up and share where they're at, what they're thinking. Give them room to speak. Give them room to disagree with you. For others of you, you might be too quiet. You might just be sitting back and not saying things that are inside of you. One of the worst things we can do in our decision making, in our marriages, is to hold something back and then later get mad about the decision we made when we didn't speak up in the first place. We've got to be willing to stay in the place of decision making, even if it takes days, even if it takes weeks. Be willing to stay there and wrestle it through. Share all the things that are on your heart, what you feel strongly about, what you're uncertain about, and listen well to each other. And then, friends, we reach a crucial moment when we make a decision, especially when we're making a decision together, whether it's in a work context, some kind of a team environment, or again, in your marriage. Our discussion time can be our different opinions. At decision time, it becomes our decision. It is crucial that when we've made a decision, we make it united. Here's where we've landed. It's not your decision, I'm just going along with it. It's our decision together. We've settled this is where we're at, and we're entrusting it into the Lord's care, and He's going to be our refuge. And whether it's the perfect decision or not, it's the one we have made. And we will live with the consequences and not blame each other or second guess each other. We're going to trust God. Friends, there's a few thoughts on decision making. Man, pray for me. I'm praying for you. Let's lift each other up as we're navigating the season that we're in right now. And ultimately, let's remember God's got us and He loves us, and it's going to be all right. See you soon, friends. Love you guys.